And as the 16th day of activism, or days of activism against female genital mutilation begins today, advocates against the act and human rights activists have begun their sensitization campaigns against a widely disturbing trend. This report contains some graphic pictures and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Our correspondent, Jacqueline Ogo, has more on this story.
Female genital mutilation is an issue of global concern. It is an age-long tradition highly prevalent in Africa, with Nigeria ranking third in the prevalence rate. Globally, 200 million women and girls are victims of the unwholesome practice, and 20 million of such women are in Nigeria. It is tagged female circumcision, but doctors say it is the mutilation of diverse parts of the female genitals, resulting in deep medical crisis that leaves nothing to be desired about the practice.
To start with, the clitoris contains about 10,000 nerves endings, sensitivity endings. Now, if you remove that, that means that the woman is completely deprived of the joy of being a woman.
It has destroyed some marriages. Women are left, single because of this situation.
There are myths surrounding female genital mutilation. It is culturally done in many parts of Nigeria. So, babies come under unsterilized knives and blades, and it is believed by those who engage in it to be a tool for curbing promiscuity. In some traditions, the practice is administered on women on the delivery bed, and some bleed to death.
The urethra, where the urine, your wee or your pee, if you like, where it comes through, is just underneath the clitoris. So you may affect that by removing the clitoris as well as the vulva. Therefore, you are introducing infection into the kidney. The other part is the fact that during childbirth, this woman will have considerable difficulty in having vaginal birth. So it might end up in cesarean section. I don't think any one of us pray for our women to have that.
Now, the question is, who will come to the rescue?
We need the law, the executives, as well as the legislators to act proactively to enact a law that criminalizes female genital mutilation. We need state phone centers and report physical office where people can actually go for report as a refuge that escape from the injuries that are about to be inflicted on the innocent souls.
Advocates against female genital mutilation are getting more aggressive in their campaigns because it has made many bedrooms and homes places of war instead of places of love. That's because after women get mutilated with ugly knives, they lose their ability to respond to sexual stimuli, making their husbands who are hungry for sexual attention aggressive. The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, popularly known as the VAP Act, signed into law during the Goodluck Obele Jonathan regime in 2015, has been domesticated by 34 states in Nigeria. Activists say mutilation of the human body is a violent act, and prosecution should be head off from now on the practice in very rapid dimensions. Human rights activists say Nigeria has reached a point where culture and traditions that promote sorrow, tears, and death should be done away with for the embrace of tendencies that promote unity and progress. Jacqueline Ogo, TVC News, Lagos.
Let's talk this through by speaking with an anti-FGM advocate, Melanie Shola, who is joining me in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us on TVC News this time.
It's a huge privilege to be here.
All right. So the 16 days of activism against FGM begin today. And this has been a conversation worldwide, especially in Nigeria. So talk to us about the significance of these days to be, commemorated.
Yes, very well. Thank you for having me. And largely, this 16 days are days against sexual and gender-based violence. And for a very long while, focus has not been on FGM as being a part of the sexual and gender-based violence that are almost all of the time meted against women in the society. Now, you look at FGM in particular, that's if you leave supposedly the obvious rape, sexual assaults and harassment and what have you, and you're looking at a very traditional belief. FGM, like harmful widowhood practices like child marriage, belong to a group in the GBV category that is called harmful traditional practices. And with FGM in particular, it is a lot more interesting, especially because this is done to you by the people in your life whom you love and trust the most. And I look at myself, for example, looking at the significance of FGM and how that I didn't even come to the term of the fact that I was mutilated until I was 33 years old. So this definitely must have been done on me at a time when I was too young to comprehend or even feel the pain of what was done. However, I continue to live with the aftermath of what has been done some 35, 36 years ago today. And you look at the impact almost in your everyday life. And science has proven and has led or linked this with things like menstrual pain in women, of course, inability to have sexual ecstasy also in women, which invariably affects women's relationships and invariably their health. And then you look at an issue very crucial like childbirth. And then you're looking at how a woman literally has issues with the crowning of the baby's head, which the clitoris is supposed to function in helping when the baby is about to be birthed. So there are a lot of impacts of this, and that's on a day-to-day basis, which then informs why we must almost every day, not just for 16 days, continue to advocate against female genital mutilation as other forms of SGBV.
The campaign has been on. It's not the first time, you know, people like us in the media have been hearing about this. But then you talk about, are we looking at those that are largely affected who are predominantly in the rural areas or in the metropolitan areas? Is this something that is peculiar to those in the rural setting?
No, it isn't. And the interesting fact is today, a lot more people who are mutilated are in the urban areas, not in the rural areas. Why is it so? It is so because the large majority of those who are mutilated in the world, or let me take Nigeria for example, today were done, it's said that a large proportion of women who have been mutilated now live as a result of migration in urban centers. So does mutilation still hold in rural communities today? Yes, it does. But does it also hold in urban centers today? Yes, it does. Why does it do? Now, it does because there is what we call medicalization of FGM, in which case where people believe that female genital mutilation is only unsafe because it's in the hands of local excisors or traditional cutters, you know, in street parlance. But that if you won't allow a medical person perform this on you, then it won't be safe. But the WHO has made it so clear that female genital mutilation has no known health benefit to the woman at all. No, it's not known.
So it's a myth to say it could lead to promiscuity, it could lead
to... those are myths, and there are a few other myths in relation to that. One very obvious one is what you've said. They say if you're unmutilated, then you can as well become promiscuous, which is why, quote and unquote, we have lots of prostitutes on the street. Today, science found that, in fact, it is the fact that a girl is mutilated that is likely to lure such a girl into promiscuity.
That's quite sad.
Yes, please.
So, as a filmmaker and journalist, we understand that you did a documentary, you know, to advocate against this particular practice. Talk to us about how much it has achieved and how people have been exposed to this.
Thank you. So, this was an effort that started in 2019, if I could, when I interviewed some group of women who came from an NGO talking on female genital mutilation. But I went to the field in 2020, and what I found in the local government that has the highest prevalence in Nigeria, which is in Oyo State. And the interest for me was the fact that this local government was just next to my own local government of origin. I wanted to know why this would still exist, because the probability of a child born in Kajola local government area of Oyo State today to not be mutilated is 0.2%, which is almost non-existent. The prevalence rate today still stands at 98%. Upon getting there, I found that there is indeed a need for the locals to hide from me what's still being done, with regards to female genital mutilation. And that essentially tells me that they know of the import of what they're doing, and they equally know of the implications and consequences that should follow. Yet, it is criminalized by the VAP Act, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which has since 2016 been domesticated in a place like Oyo State and a few other states. We still have a lot of states that just domesticated this year, and we have 2 more states yet to domesticate in Nigeria. Interestingly, people are still not put behind bars for such a heinous crime, such a huge crime.
But then, very quickly before we allow you to go, you said that this is a practice that is done by people you trust the most, those that are closer to you,
That's
as
true.
maybe your parents or your relatives and all that. What would you say to people who have similar experience as you, and what should they do to their lives going forward?
Essentially, I'd say the knowledge of their status is there to empower them and not to further disenfranchise them as the practice that was done against them. Right. So essentially, understanding what it is now to cope with the current status that they have. And I speak to this especially in relations to their sexual and reproductive health. Where these 2 things are concerned, women have to then know what things to do, the lifestyle to embrace to ensure that they have a heightened experience sexually, and of course also aid in their reproductive processes and life.
All right, makes sense. Well, anti-female genital mutilation advocate Melanie Shola, thank you so much for your keenness of insight on this crucial topic. Really appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure to be here.
All right.
Thank you.